Good afternoon. It's Wednesday, December 30. I'm Giovanni Dennis with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching online at onespotmedia.com. The Independent Commission of Investigations, INDECOM, has commenced its probe into allegations of human rights abuses at the St. Catherine Adult Correctional Center in Spanish Town. Commissioner of INDECOM, Hugh Faulkner, says investigators have so far determined that some inmates who claim to have been abused are refusing meals. Mr. Faulkner told our news center that INDECOM investigators who went to the correctional facility yesterday based on media reports. He says records of the Department of Correctional Services were examined and some of the inmates interviewed.
Our investigation is not complete, so I cannot give you absolute findings as yet. But from our preliminary inquiries, there has been somewhat of a meal protest. I wouldn't say a very organized protest, but especially some inmates who allege that they were affected by activities carried on a week or so ago. They were refusing meals. That's our preliminary finding so far, and I believe some others may have joined in.
Now, there's tension among inmates at the St. Catherine Adult Correctional Center stemming from searches for contraband carried out by the Caribbean Search Center last week. Inmates alleged excessive force was used, resulting in injuries to two of them. A man was chopped to death in Oracabessa St. Mary Tuesday. His mother and his sister have been taken into police custody for questioning in relation to the brutal killing. The dead man has been identified as 26-year-old Jerome Forrester of a Tank Lane address in the parish. Dashan Hendricks reports.
Scores of residents on a Tank Lane in Oracabessa St. Mary gathered at the scene where the body of 26-year-old Jerome Forrester was found yesterday. Jerome was reported missing on Monday by his sister, which then prompted residents to launch a search. The search ended on Tuesday, and the outcome was one the residents could have never imagined. Jerome's body was found in bushes to the back of his house in a bag. Clement Brown was among the residents who conducted the search.
The top of the body up here was chopped off with the two hands up cut off and him face turned down, and the rest of him body down here so with him 2 foot chop off and in one crocus bag. And the next part turned down on the face, like it drop out of the bag. So more on one bag, so it come like when him throw it down, it drop out. So one part down in the bag with it like down here so, and up here so, drop out and turn down on the face with the two hand them cut off.
When we say family member kill him star, one brother, and him know how the youths take, because the two of them drink and two of them go on the same way. So I don't know.
But we ask the police them to give him, but we don't know if them find him or them locate him. As soon as we find him, still we'll take care of it. If the police them not find him.
The residents say it is the first time an incident like that happened in their community and that Jerome did not deserve such a brutal death.
Why community look like it shake up as far as me see, you know. See me? Because I don't really live up here again. Bus bell me there now. And when me hear this, me have to come up here because it's a little soldier when me know. And know good. You see me? And everybody don't know say I him that. Him just drink little rum and then give little trouble and I him that. Nothing wrong though. So him not deserve this and him own family member them know that too. Say a good little youth.
The Oracabessa police have since arrested Forrester's mother and sister for questioning in connection with the find. They are asking persons with information to call them at 975-3233, Crime Stop at 311, or the police 119 emergency number. Dashan Hendricks, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, head of the St. Mary Police, Superintendent Bobette Morgan Simpson, says another member of the family is being sought in connection with the disappearance of Mr. Forrester.
It is believed that he is in bushes, is in hiding in bushes. So checks are being made in and around the area in the bushes to see if this person can be located who can assist the police in the investigations.
Residents of Kingston are being called on to comply with the orders in the Disaster Risk Management Act. It follows a yacht party on Sunday and the subsequent closure of the Lime and Maiden Keys. In a video received by TVJ News on Sunday, persons were seen blatantly disregarding the COVID-19 protocols set out by the Health Ministry over the holiday weekend. In addressing the matter, Mayor of Kingston, Delroy Williams, says no party should have been kept as no amusement license was granted by the corporation.
The laws that we operate under stretch also as far as Lime Key and Maiden Key. In other words, there should be no event at Maiden Key or Lime Key.
Mr. Williams says persons need to have some level of restraint.
We are quite aware that persons want to go out and to be able to express themselves. This is the festive season. Persons are used to having partying and having a good time during the festive season. But we're saying that this is an unusual time for us as a country, as a municipality, and it requires that we be responsible and mature in our approach, and all of that in the interest.
Jamaica's COVID-19 death toll has passed 300 after the respiratory illness claimed 4 more lives. The death toll now stands at 302. 3 of the deaths include men from St. James. The other deceased is an 83-year-old man from Westmoreland. The health minister says all 4 deaths were previously under investigation. Meanwhile, 41 new COVID-19 cases were recorded Tuesday. The country's case count is now 12,793. Their ages range from 9 to 90 years. The number of persons hospitalized with the respiratory illness has increased to 89. 8 are in critical condition. The British government says regulators have just approved the Oxford AstraZeneca coronavirus vaccine. This is the second vaccine authorized for use in the United Kingdom. Officials say the approval follows, quote, rigorous clinical trials and a thorough analysis of the data by experts. Now it comes after the UK recorded over 53,000 coronavirus cases on Tuesday, breaking its daily record since the pandemic began for a second day in a row. And over in the United States, health officials in Colorado County believe they've found a second local case of a coronavirus variant from the United Kingdom. Now, this comes a day after the first known case of the variant in the U.S. was announced in Colorado's Elbert County. Now, both the confirmed case and the suspected instance involved men who had been working at the Good Samaritan Society assisted living facility. Neither are residents of the Elbert County, and they are isolating outside the county. However, there is, quote, no indication at this point that this event has gone beyond the facility and into the larger community. Sandals Barbados Resort and Spa has been delisted by that country's health ministry as a designated quarantine hotel effective January 5. 3 tourists have been held for questioning by police. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Kenneth George said in a statement Tuesday that the action was taken after several verified complaints of breaches of the COVID-19 protocols at the resort in relation to visitors in quarantine. He said the Ministry of Health and Wellness takes the issue of breaches of COVID-19 protocols very seriously and will take similar action if other designated quarantine hotels and villas refuse to uphold the rules. On Monday evening, Barbados Minister of Health and Wellness Jeffrey Bostic warned that authorities would take firm action against any business or individual in breach of the COVID-19 protocols. And it's now time for a break here on the Midday News, but please stay with us. We'll have much more when we return. Welcome back, and we're continuing the news. The Office of the Children's Advocate says it's hopeful it will be able to remove all the children from the Kahali Yahweh compound in Norwood St. James next year. It comes following reports of child marriage at the compound in 2019, which led to 2 joint police military operations at the property. O'Shane Masters has the details.
It's over a year, and efforts by government agencies to remove all the children from the Kahal Yahweh property in Norwood St. James have not reaped much success. The sect came to public attention following 2 police operations to remove some children from the property. However, the police officers were faced with strong resistance from members of a group who padlocked the gates and used their bodies as barriers to prevent the removal of the children. They also attacked and injured some members of the force. The action by the security forces was based on reports of child abuse and underage girls being married to grown men. Children's advocate Diane Gordon Harrison last year said that her agency, in collaboration with the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA, would be seeking to have the other children on the property removed. However, that has not been successful. She told TVJ News that the approach they were hoping to take has not worked due to a lack of cooperation.
We have dealt with individual cases, as in when we have persons who have come forward to speak about specific instances involving children who are there, those matters have been responded to. However, in terms of the overarching kind of big up that we wanted to do, there are some challenges that have been encountered, certainly in terms of law enforcement issues on the ground. And so it's still a matter under live consideration. There are aspects of it that still remain in court. And so depending on how those aspects are decided, it will determine how we move forward.
The children's advocate says the matter is an intricate one, as aspects of the matter is still in the courts. She, however, noted that some progress has been made, this though on a case-by-case basis.
The one case that comes to mind readily has to do with an aunt who had raised an alarm about her niece who was involved in it and so on. And because of her specific cooperation, because of course, you can raise an alarm and then nothing happens because you don't cooperate. But this lady has been very persistent, has cooperated with giving statements to the police, CPFSA and so on. And so that particular niece, for example, we were able to follow through on and, kind of get her out of the situation, so to speak. So where we have had that kind of ongoing cooperation in those individual cases, progressive steps are that have been made.
Mrs. Gordon Harrison says her office is hopeful that they will have all children removed from the property in 2021. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
Residents in Anota Bay St. Mary are calling on the Health Ministry to deal with a pool of stagnant water which has settled in front of the health centre. According to one resident, the water has been settling there for more than 5 days and now carries a stench. Dwight Daly, who has been attending the health centre for the past 5 years, says the water settles whenever it rains.
And I'm concerned because we're in a dengue season and it's right beside the health center. Now, my belief is something can be done because the road needs to be lifted and a drainage system set up so the water can be led away when there's a rainfall. The river is right there. Well, the river is right at the other side and the sea is right there, but they need to do something to address this matter because that water is going to be there for days.
In news overseas, new details have emerged in the case involving Breonna Taylor in the United States. According to reports, there was another round of firings among the officers involved in the deadly shooting. Taylor, a 26-year-old African-American woman, was fatally shot in her Louisville, Kentucky apartment on March 13 this year when plainclothes officers of the Louisville Metro Police Department forced entry into the apartment as part of an investigation into drug dealing operations. Details from the CNN.
And she's ecstatic. Of course, it's one step.
Lanita Baker talks about her conversation with Tamika Palmer, Breonna Taylor's mom, as detectives Joshua Janes and Miles Cosgrove got their pre-termination letters on Tuesday night.
Another step toward justice for Breonna Taylor. It is still our hope that the officers will be charged.
A professional standards unit investigation into Detective Janes came when the signed warrant affidavit had brought some questions, like whether Janes had vetted claims that Taylor's ex-boyfriend, Jamarcus Glover, received USPS packages at Taylor's apartment. Jane's attorney, Thomas Clay, says his client wouldn't lie under oath.
What we have is a he said versus a he said and she said situation, which for me is hardly a grounds to terminate him.
Clay is adamant Detective Jane's search warrant was ironclad, and his partner, Detective Kelly Goodlett, corroborated he was following up with what he was told by Sergeant Mattingly. Clay says the evidence was snapped in broad daylight, as this surveillance picture shows Glover with an apparent USPS package.
I think LMPD and the mayor's office have totally botched this whole investigation. And I think they're looking for people to throw under the bus. And I think Joshua Janes, unfortunately, is one of those individuals who is placed in the path of this bus.
But still, Baker says, in her opinion, it's another serving of justice. Detective Cosgrove, who fired the bullet killing Taylor, also is set to be stripped of his badge and gun.
And here's a preview of what's coming up in this evening's Health Report.
In the next edition of the Health Report, we look at detoxification.
This is one of the divides between traditional, the herbal medicine practitioners and Western medicine, where they have all of these, various formulas that they use, various drinks, various dietary restrictions, with the aim of detoxifying the body. The body will do what it needs to do.
That's the Health Report this evening in Primetime News. And now for today's healthy living tip. Drink plenty of water. Eat lots of fruits and vegetables. Reduce your intake of sugar and processed foods. Avoid alcohol and focus on sleep.
Before kickoff at Goodison Park because of an outbreak of coronavirus at the club. And that's the Midday News. I'm Giovanni Dennis. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of